Welcome to Mind Set in Stone podcasts, where we dive deep into the most compelling books on the shelf. Join hosts Dave and Poppy as they uncover the stories, themes, and ideas that shape our understanding and inspire curiosity. Get ready to explore the big ideas that leave a lasting impact. Let's get started.
Okay, ready to dive into some serious positivity. We've got Paul McKenna's book as our guide today, exploring how to cultivate more of the good stuff in our lives.
And it's not just about slapping on a happy face, This gets into some fascinating territory, like rewiring our brains for less stress, building unshakable confidence, and even get this, increasing our luck.
Wait, increasing your LUCK? I have to admit, that one caught my attention. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's back up a bit. What's the central premise here? How does this whole positivity thing actually work?
Well, the core idea is that our feelings, whether it's joy, stress, or anything in between, are largely driven by the movies we play in our minds.
The movies we play, you mean like our thoughts?
Exactly. Memories, imagined futures. It's all about the pictures and sounds we create internally. The more vivid those movies, the more intensely we feel the emotions they evoke.
Okay, so instead of just reacting to the world around us, we're constantly directing our own inner Spielberg film. That's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
It is. And just like a good movie can make you laugh, cry, or jump out of your seat, the movies we play in our minds have a powerful impact on how we feel.
So if I'm constantly replaying that awkward moment from high school, no wonder I'm cringing years later. It's like I'm right back there feeling those same embarrassing feelings.
Precisely. And on the flip side, when we focus on positive memories, those good feelings get amplified too.
It's like when I think back to that amazing vacation I took, the more I step into those memories, the sights, the sounds, the feeling of the sun on my skin, the stronger those feelings of joy and relaxation become. It's like I'm right back there.
You're getting it. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. McKenna says this same principle applies to negative stuff too.
Like what? Give me an example.
Think about that what-if spiral we all get sucked into sometimes. When you imagine all the worst-case scenarios, a fender bender turns into a multi-car pileup, a missed deadline becomes a career-ending catastrophe. It's called catastrophizing.
Oh, tell me about it. My brain is a master at catastrophizing.
The problem is, our nervous systems haven't quite caught up to the modern world.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. A work deadline, a disagreement with your partner, even just a notification on your phone, it triggers the same fight-or-flight response as a saber-toothed tiger did for our ancestors?
Seriously, so my body is reacting to a text message as if it's a life-or-death situation.
In a nutshell, yes.
Yeah.
Your heart rate increases, cortisol spikes. It's the car alarm analogy.
Okay, I like the car alarm analogy, because a fender bender shouldn't set it off the same way a major accident does, but our body sometimes reacts as if it's a 5-alarm fire.
Exactly. And the more we experience those small, everyday stresses, those mini car alarms going off constantly, the more our nervous systems get stuck in that heightened state of alert. No wonder we feel burnt out.
So how do we hit the mute button on that internal alarm system? How do we stop those car alarms from going off every 5 seconds?
Well, that's where the practical tools come in. McKenna offers a range of techniques to help us manage stress, reframe our thoughts, and ultimately create a more positive internal environment.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Give me the good stuff. What's one technique we can start using today to dial down that stress response?
One of the foundational techniques is called progressive relaxation.
Progressive relaxation. Sounds pretty self-explanatory. What's involved?
It's about systematically relaxing your body, muscle group by muscle group, while using your imagination to guide yourself into a deeper state of calm.
So it's like a mental massage.
You could say that,
Okay.
But there's another technique that I find even more intriguing. It's called havening.
Havening. Okay, I'll bite. What is that?
I have to admit, when I first read about it, I thought it sounded a little out there, but the science behind it is actually quite fascinating.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Tell me more.
Essentially, it involves a combination of touch, eye movements, and visualization to help induce delta waves in the brain.
Wait, delta waves? Like the brain waves you experience in deep sleep?
You got it. We're talking about creating a state of deep relaxation on demand.
Now that sounds like something we could all use a little more of in our lives.
Right. And the more you practice, the more effective it becomes. It's like a hard reset for your nervous system.
Okay, I'm sold. So how do we do it? Do we need any special equipment or?
No equipment required. It's surprisingly simple, actually. You start by identifying the stressful feeling you want to address. Rate its intensity on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay, got it. My to-do list is currently sitting at about an 8 on the stress scale.
So you'd focus on that feeling of overwhelm, really tune into it. Then you're going to cross your arms, place your hands on your shoulders, and begin gently stroking downwards from your shoulders to your elbows. This stroking motion continues throughout the process.
So there's a repetitive soothing element to it, like almost like self-soothing.
You got it. And while you're doing that, you're also going to engage in specific visualizations.
Visualizations, like,
It could be anything that evokes a sense of calmness and focus. Imagining yourself walking on a beach, counting your steps, or picturing a peaceful scene from nature. The key is to choose something that resonates with you and helps to shift your focus away from the stressor.
so we're basically overriding those stress signals with more positive, calming input.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, it actually works. There's research showing that havening can reduce stress hormones, calm the nervous system, and even help to rewire those neural pathways we talked about earlier.
Wow. So it's not just some woo-woo relaxation technique. There's real science behind it.
Absolutely. It's not a magic bullet, of course, but it's a powerful tool to have in your stress reduction arsenal. And it's a great example of how we can use our minds to influence our physical and emotional states.
Okay, so we're starting to see how to dial down that stress response. But what about those other emotions we often label as negative? Like anger, sadness, frustration. Are we just supposed to pretend those feelings don't exist? Is this whole positivity thing about trying to be happy all the time?
That's a great question, and it's something McKenna addresses head on. He actually argues that it's healthier to embrace the full spectrum of human emotions, even those so-called negative ones.
Really? Even anger? I thought anger was like public enemy #1 on the emotional scale.
Not necessarily. McKenna's point is that even emotions like anger, sadness, and fear are part of our emotional intelligence. They have a job to do.
Okay, so it's not about trying to eliminate those feelings altogether. It's more about understanding what they're trying to tell us.
Exactly. Think of it this way. If you're constantly feeling angry, it might be a sign that your boundaries are being crossed. It's a signal to take action, to speak up for yourself, to make a change.
It's like a warning light on your emotional dashboard, right? It's telling you that something needs attention.
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't ignore a check engine light in your car, we shouldn't ignore those emotional warning lights either. They're giving us valuable information about our needs, our boundaries, and our values.
So the key is to find healthy ways to process and express those emotions so we don't get stuck in them.
Exactly. It's about learning to listen to our emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, and figuring out what they're trying to tell us.
So how do we do that? How do we find that balance between acknowledging those uncomfortable emotions without letting them completely take over?
That's where techniques like the Apex technique come in. It's a powerful tool for finding a place of balance, where we can acknowledge and integrate those uncomfortable emotions without letting them overwhelm us.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more about this Apex technique. How does it work?
So imagine you're holding your hands out in front of you, palms up. Now, focus on the feeling that's bothering you. Let's say it's anxiety. You picture holding that anxiety in your left hand.
Okay, so we're giving that feeling a physical location, almost as if it's a tangible object that we can hold.
Exactly. And then you think of the opposite feeling. In this case, let's say it's a sense of peace and calmness. And you imagine holding that feeling in your right hand.
So we're literally holding opposing emotions in our hand, anxiety in one hand, peace in the other. What happens next? Do we try to make one feeling win?
That's where it gets interesting. Instead of trying to make one feeling overpower the other, you shift your attention to a point above your head and try to experience both feelings simultaneously.
Wait, so we're not trying to banish the negative feeling altogether? We're actually leaning into it?
Exactly. It seems counterintuitive,
Mm-hmm.
but by holding both the positive and the negative in our awareness, we allow our emotional system to recalibrate.
So it's not about erasing one feeling, but finding a place where both can coexist without throwing us off balance.
That's a great way to put it. It's about finding a new center of gravity.
Okay, we've talked about managing stress and recalibrating our emotional responses, but what about that elusive thing called confidence? How does that fit into this whole positivity puzzle?
McKenna makes a great point. True confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room or having this swagger about yourself when you walk in. It's about feeling comfortable in your own skin, being authentically you.
Yes. It's not about putting on a show. It's about owning who you are, quirks and all.
Right. And when you have that kind of genuine confidence, it allows you to show up in the world with more authenticity. And it's incredibly powerful, especially in times of uncertainty.
Yeah. When everything around you feels shaky, That inner confidence becomes your anchor.
Exactly.
So what if confidence isn't something you're born with? Can you actually build it like a muscle?
You absolutely can. And McKenna emphasizes that confidence is both a state of mind, a habit. It's something you practice and cultivate over time. One technique he suggests is what he calls the gradual confidence booster.
Okay, the gradual confidence booster sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
It might sound a bit out there, but it's about visualizing increasingly confident versions of yourself, almost like leveling up in a video game.
I like it. So how does this confidence leveling up work?
You start by picturing a slightly more confident version of yourself standing in front of you.
Yeah.
What's their posture like? Their expression? Really try to get a sense of their energy.
So it's like creating a mental avatar, a slightly bolder version of me.
Exactly. Now here's the key. You imagine stepping into that more confident self. You literally inhabit their posture, their demeanor, even their thoughts. You embody that confidence.
Wow, it's like a mental dress rehearsal for confidence. And then I'm guessing you repeat the process, visualizing even more confident versions of yourself, each time stretching your comfort zone a little further.
I got it. Each time you're expanding your capacity for confidence until you reach a level that might have felt overwhelming if you tried to jump there all at once.
It's like that saying, what's the best way to eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Exactly. Okay, this is making me realize how much of this is about our mindset, the stories we tell ourselves, that voice in our heads.
Absolutely. That internal dialogue has a huge impact on how we feel and how we show up in the world. And just like we can learn to reframe our thoughts, we can also learn to change the tone of that inner voice.
So instead of listening to that inner critic that's always pointing out our flaws, we can learn to crank up the volume on our inner cheerleader.
Precisely. Start by paying attention to that voice. Where do you hear it in your head?
Mine's usually whispering doubts right in my ear. So annoying.
Now imagine what that voice would sound like if it were infused with confidence. Would it be louder, calmer, more assertive?
Definitely more Beyonce, less Debbie Downer.
I love it. Now here comes the fun part. Practice using that new confident voice.
Okay, how? Give me an example.
Start with affirmations. They might feel a little cheesy at first, but trust me, they work. How about this one? I am capable and deserving of success. Repeat that a few times using your new confident voice. What do you notice?
I am capable and deserving of success.
Okay, wow, yeah. It actually does feel different just saying it out loud.
Right. It's like you can almost feel that confident energy shifting something within you. And over time, by consciously choosing empowering thoughts and expressing them with a confident voice, you start to rewire those neural pathways, making it easier to access that confident mindset on demand.
This is reminding me of something else, and McKenna talks about the power of posture. It's not just about standing up straight, is it? No, it's not just about looking good. It's about how our posture affects our internal state. When we feel confident, we naturally stand taller, we make eye contact, we move with more ease.
It's like that Amy Cuddy research on power poses. Holding those expansive postures, even for a couple of minutes, can actually change our hormone levels and make us feel more powerful.
Exactly. There's real science behind it. That's why I dare you to try striking a Wonder Woman pose in the bathroom before your next big meeting.
Haha, I'm totally trying that. You might be surprised by how much more confident you feel walking in.
Right. It's about tapping into that mind-body connection.
Okay, we've talked about stress, confidence, emotions. What about dealing with setbacks and challenges? That's where resilience comes in, right?
You got it. Resilience is our ability to bounce back from adversity, to learn from our mistakes, and to keep moving forward even when things get tough.
So what's the key to developing that kind of resilience? Is it just about being tough and pushing through no matter what?
It's actually more nuanced than that. It's not about being rigid and unyielding. It's about being adaptable, like a reed in the wind.
So being able to bend without breaking.
Exactly. It's about having a wide range of options, being able to think outside the box and come up with creative solutions when things don't go according to plan.
Which makes me think a lot of this comes down to our imagination, doesn't it? We talked earlier about how the movies we play in our minds can create negative emotions. But what if we could harness that same power for good? What if we could use our imagination to build resilience?
You're spot on. Our imagination is a powerful tool, and it can be used for both construction and destruction.
So how do we flip the script? How do we use our imagination to become more resilient in the face of challenges?
Well, one of my favorite techniques from McKenna's book is called the Desperation Destroyer. It's a visualization exercise that helps you shift your perspective and tap into your inner strength even when you're feeling completely overwhelmed or discouraged.
Desperation Destroyer. I love it. Okay, I'm ready to destroy some desperation. How does it work?
Close your eyes for a moment and think about something that's been causing you stress or worry lately. It could be anything. Maybe it's a financial concern, a relationship issue, or a work deadline that feels impossible.
Okay, got it.
Now imagine you're creating a 9-square grid in your mind, like a tic-tac-toe board. In 8 of those squares, you place images of things. You're grateful for happy memories, supportive people, accomplishments, anything that brings you joy and reminds you of your strengths and your resilience.
So we're surrounding ourselves with positive energy, visual reminders of all the good in our lives.
Exactly. And then in that 9th square, the one in the center, you place a tiny black and white image of the thing you're feeling anxious or stressed about.
Wow. I can already feel a shift just imagining that. It's like that thing is shrinking before my eyes as it's surrounded by all that positivity.
That's exactly the idea. By putting our problems in perspective, by reminding ourselves of all the good we have going for us, we take away some of their power. It doesn't erase the challenge, but it helps us approach it with more clarity and a greater sense of hope and possibility.
It's like that saying, don't compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. We all face challenges, but we don't always see them.
Exactly. And this technique helps us remember that even when things are tough, we have a lot to be grateful for. And that can make all the difference in how we approach those challenges.
This has been incredibly helpful. We've got strategies for managing stress-boosting confidence and building resilience. What's next on the positivity agenda?
Well, all of this ties into a bigger theme: motivation. How do we actually get things done, especially when that couch and a good book are calling?
That is the million-dollar question. What's McKenna's take on staying motivated?
He encourages us to think about what truly motivates us at our core. He talks about the difference between what he calls carrot motivation, moving towards something we want, and stick motivation, moving away from something we don't want.
Okay, so it's the classic carrot or the stick dilemma. But in this case, we get to choose which one we're responding to.
Exactly. And while both can be effective, relying too much on the stick can be draining. It's like always looking over your shoulder, running from something you don't want, instead of moving towards something you do.
That makes a lot of sense. It's easy to get stuck in that cycle of fear-based motivation, always trying to avoid the next bad thing. So how do we shift from that to something more positive and sustainable?
McKenna suggests starting with our core values. What are the guiding principles that are most important to us? What do we stand for?
Because when our actions are aligned with our values, it feels more authentic, more fulfilling, more motivating.
Exactly. That sense of purpose, that feeling of being in alignment is incredibly motivating. It's like having a compass that keeps pointing you in the right direction even when the path gets bumpy.
Okay, I'm sold. But how do we actually figure out what our core values are? I mean, it's not like they come with an instruction manual.
It's true. It's a journey of self-discovery, but it's a journey worth taking. Start by asking yourself, what's truly important to me? What matters most?
Okay, so family, friends, making a difference. Those are some big ones that come to mind.
Now, here's the key for each of those temperatures. Ask yourself, why is that important to me? Keep digging deeper until you get to the core value. For example, if family is important to you, is it because you value connection, tradition, or unconditional love?
So it's about peeling back the layers of the onion to get to the heart of what really matters.
Precisely. And once you have those core values in mind, you can start to evaluate your goals and actions through that lens. Are they in alignment with what you truly value?
It's like holding up those goals and actions to a mirror and seeing if they reflect who you really are at your core.
Exactly. And it's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process of checking in with yourself and making sure your actions are in alignment with your values.
This is making me think about all those times I've pushed myself towards a goal and even achieved it, but it just didn't feel good. I was miserable the whole way there.
That's a classic example of what happens when our actions aren't aligned with our values. We might achieve the goal, but at what cost? It's like that saying, don't climb the ladder of success, only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall.
Okay, so we're clear on the importance of values-driven living. But what about those times when we know what we should be doing? We even want to do it, but something holds us back. You know that dreaded self-sabotage monster?
Oh, self-sabotage. It's like that friend who encourages you to order dessert, even though you swore you were sticking to salad, right?
Don't even get me started. It's like my brain has this whole arsenal of ways to trip me up right when I'm finally getting somewhere.
And the thing is, it's usually coming from a place of fear, even if we don't consciously realize it. Like, take procrastination, for example.
Oh, procrastination, my old nemesis. We meet again.
It's often fear in disguise. We put things off because we're afraid of failing, afraid of succeeding, or maybe just afraid of the unknown.
It's like that feeling of driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. You want to move forward, but something's holding you back.
Exactly. It's like this internal tug of war. And McKenna shares a technique from his colleague, Dr. Richard Bandler, to address this working at the subconscious level.
Okay. I'm always up for a little subconscious rewiring. How does it work?
It's called the easy way to stop self-sabotage. You start by identifying the two conflicting parts within yourself. For example, let's say you want to start a business.
Oh, I've been there. So many ideas, so much fear holding them back.
So one part of you is excited by the challenge, the creativity, the potential. But another part is terrified of failing, of financial ruin, of what people will think.
It's like those two parts are engaged in an epic battle and they're both armed to the teeth.
And here's the thing, instead of trying to silence one side or the other, you imagine holding each part in your hands, the part that's raring to go and the part that's hitting the brakes.
So I'm acknowledging both sides, giving them equal airtime.
Right. But then you ask each part, what are you trying to achieve for me? What's the positive intention behind this?
So even the part that's holding me back, the fear-driven part, it has my best interests at heart in some way.
Exactly. It might be trying to protect you from criticism, from disappointment, even from success itself, however irrational it seems.
That's actually a really helpful reframe. It's not that one part is bad and the other is good. They both just want what's best for me in their own way.
Precisely. And when you understand those positive intentions, it becomes easier to work with them. Like maybe the part that's afraid of failure is really just trying to protect your self-esteem.
So how do we get those two parts to play nicely together? It can't be as simple as just saying, hey guys, can't we all just get along?
I wish it were that easy. But this is where it gets really interesting. You bring your hands together, still imagining those two parts, and visualize them merging, blending their energies. Then you ask your unconscious mind to find a way for them to work together, to achieve both of their positive intentions.
So it's like we're mediating a peace treaty between those warring factions in our minds.
Exactly. And when those parts are aligned, McKenna says you'll feel this sense of clarity, like a weight has been lifted.
It's like they've joined forces and are now working as a team, propelling you forward instead of holding you back. That is so cool.
It is. And it highlights how much power we have to influence our inner world, which then spills over into our external reality.
Speaking of our external reality, we've talked about managing our thoughts, our emotions, even our subconscious beliefs. But how do we actually create a future that we're excited about?
McKenna is a big believer in the power of visualization, designing a compelling future that pulls us forward with excitement and anticipation.
Oh, I love this. I'm a very visual person, so I'm all about creating a vivid vision board for my life. How do we get started with this compelling future stuff?
Close your eyes for a second and imagine it's a year from now. You've had the most amazing, fulfilling, joyful year of your life. What's different? What have you accomplished? How are you feeling?
Okay, let's see. Pause. I'm picturing myself healthier, more confident. I'm finally writing that book that's been swirling around in my head forever.
Now zoom in on the details. What does your ideal day look like in this amazing year? Who are you with? What are you doing? Don't hold back. Make it as real and as vivid as possible.
Okay, I'm walking along the beach, feeling the sand between my toes, and I get this brilliant idea for my book. I can practically smell the salty air in the pages of my notebook.
You're getting it. Engage all your senses.
Yeah.
What do you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel in this incredible year? The more real you make it, the more powerful it becomes.
I can almost taste that celebratory margarita I'm sipping on as I watch the sunset.
Perfect. Now here's where it gets really interesting. You're going to rewind time, just like hitting the rewind button on a movie. Go back 3 months. Ask yourself, what had to happen in those 3 months to get me to this amazing place?
Well, okay, so I'm creating a reverse to-do list, figuring out the milestones and actions that led to that ideal future.
Exactly. And for each 3-month interval, create a new scene in your mind, a snapshot of the progress you've made. Keep rewinding all the way back to the present moment.
So we're basically laying out a step-by-step roadmap from where we are right now to where we want to be a year from now.
Precisely. And by visualizing this journey, experiencing these milestones in our minds, we're giving our unconscious minds a powerful blueprint to follow.
It's like we're planting those seeds of intention and then giving them a good dose of miracle grow with our consistent actions.
I love that. And speaking of things we can't always control, what about those unexpected detours that life inevitably throws our way? That's where all those tools we've been discussing, stress management, resilience, reframing, becomes so important.
It's about building a strong inner foundation so we can weather those storms without getting blown completely off course.
Exactly. And there's one more piece of the positivity puzzle that I want to touch on before we wrap up. McKenna calls it the luck factor.
Wait, are you telling me luck isn't just about random chance, about being in the right place at the right time? Are you saying we can actually influence how lucky we are?
I know, it sounds a little out there, right?
Right.
But McKenna, along with researchers like Dr. Richard Wiseman, suggests that our beliefs and mindset play a significant role in attracting lucky opportunities.
So if we believe we're lucky, we're more likely to spot those opportunities when they arise.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective from why me to what if something amazing is about to happen?
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works, but how do we actually cultivate that lucky mindset? Do I need to start carrying around a rabbit's foot?
No need for lucky charms. McKenna suggests a simple but powerful technique. Think back to a time when you felt incredibly lucky. It'd be anything: winning a prize, acing a job interview, even just a day where everything seemed to go your way. Really relive that memory. See it, hear it, feel it.
Okay, I've got one. A few years ago, I stumbled upon this incredible vintage jacket at a thrift store. It was like it was meant for me. I still wear it all the time.
I love it. Now, as you recall that memory, notice the feelings that come up. Are you feeling happy, excited, grateful?
It's like I'm right back there, feeling that same sense of excitement and delight.
Now imagine that feeling of luck has a color. What color comes to mind?
For me, it's a bright, vibrant purple full of energy and possibility.
Now picture that purple light spreading throughout your body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Amplify that feeling. Make the color brighter and brighter until it feels like you're radiating luck from every cell.
Okay, wow, I can actually feel it.
Now take that radiant purple light and extend it outward. Infuse every area of your life with that lucky energy. Your relationships, your career, your health, your finances, everything.
It's like we're sending out a luck beacon to the universe.
Exactly. And McKenna suggests doing this visualization regularly to really anchor in that lucky mindset.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on what it means to cultivate positivity in my life.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of positivity, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with today?
Remember that positivity isn't about being happy all the time or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about cultivating a resilient mindset, learning to manage stress effectively, and taking consistent action towards a future that excites you.
It's about recognizing that we have more power than we often realize to shape our thoughts, our emotions, and ultimately our experience of life.
Beautifully said.
And on that note, we hope this deep dive has left you feeling inspired and empowered to create a life that's more aligned with your values, your dreams, and your definition of a truly fulfilling life.
Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What one small step will you take today to move towards a more positive and fulfilling future?
We can't wait to hear about your successes. Until next time, keep those good vibes flowing.
We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and check back for more episodes as we dive into new worlds of thought, one book at a time. Until then, keep your mind set in stone and your curiosity open. This has been a Big L Riz Media podcast, where big ideas meet lasting impressions.